Kia ora, good evening, and welcome to the Huddy Hui, episode 106. Another jam-packed episode tonight. Two internationals on the podcast, and we're going to start off with Warwick Lahmert from Taranaki, who also played sevens for England and New Zealand as well. So, Warwick Lahmert, many thanks for coming on the Huddy Hui tonight. Last weekend, the Singapore Sevens were played, and the two New Zealand teams went really well. What's your thoughts about how both the men and women are progressing heading towards the Olympics in Paris?
No, I think they're both going awesome, eh? I watched I think 2 or 3 games of the men's ones in between looking after the kids. But yeah, it was. I think in that semi, who they play in the semi? Can't quite. No, they versed Ireland in the final, eh? Yeah. Anyway, that semi was a huge game for them. But they're progressing well, I reckon, and they're sort of, I guess, not firing on all cylinders yet. I still think that they've left a little bit out there. But I think when the Olympics next year, is it?
This year it is, yeah, in Paris. So
this year, yeah. So they're probably hitting the straps at the right time, I'd say. And they got some wicked players still in there, some young fellas. I've seen Nehe Hui, who I coached him at the Ignite Sevens a year or two ago. He had a wicked tournament. Little Stubby from Waikanae, he had a wicked semi. So yeah, I guess they're just experimenting a little bit. So it's cool to see all these young guns coming through.
What's your thoughts on the 4 Isles of Britain coming together to form Great Britain in the World Series? Because you've played for England. What's your thoughts? Do you think they should still be separate teams, or is it part of this Olympic program now?
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it, that now they're a part of this, the Olympics, that it's now an Olympic game, that they sort of all join up and just come under one umbrella of Great Britain. There was a time there where, luckily, it was after I'd left, but it was quite sad for my mates that were still there. England shut down the program, and I think a couple of the other Great Britain teams, because they didn't really know what was going on. But I'm happy and I'm glad now that there's something for those boys, because to me, rugby 15s and rugby sevens are totally different sports. Yeah, totally different. And so there's actually players out there that aren't cut out to be 15s players, but they're wicked sevens players, and then vice versa. So I'm glad that there's still a pathway there for the sevens boys.
This year, the World Rugby changed the format for sevens. After the completion of all the series, there's no winner. They all go towards the finals in Spain. So what's your thoughts on that format?
Yeah, it's definitely different. It'll be interesting to see after they have this last one in Madrid how it goes. But I'm always open to new ideas, and I won't start giving my honest opinions until it's happened. So, hey, look, I think the game of rugby needs to change a little bit, especially here down under. So, but yeah, it'll be cool to see how it goes.
Let's wind back the clock and see where your rugby journey started. Where did your junior rugby begin?
So not far down the road from you, mate. I'm a Waikanae, born and bred Waikanae man. On the Kapiti coast. Went to Paraparaumu College and Kapa Nui School. A few other stars come out of that school. So yeah, Paraparaumu College. I was actually good mates with Colsey, so we hung out quite a bit. We're still mates to today. But yeah, I'm a Kapiti Coast man, and yeah, never made the first 15 at school. Was always told I was too small. Yeah.
And you sort of proved them wrong, how you've actually gone on with your career. So let's look at that.
Yeah, that was
time in rugby.
That was the drive.
Yeah, who was your earliest rugby mentor?
It's a good question. Like, if you go back to like under sevens, like I had Gerard Alla, who still today, whenever I see him, he's got the biggest smile on his face, and and is always happy for sort of where I've come. And then you sort of get to, like, I left school when I was sixth form and went to because I could never make the first 15, and all I wanted to do was prove the people wrong that told me I was too small. So I went to club rugby in Waikanae, and actually snapped my leg in my first game of prems. And then, anyway, that all happened, blah, blah, blah. Played Horowhenua under Ross Bond, old Bondy. I think he's still floating around now down in Wellington. And then obviously moved to Taranaki, and then had Willie Rickards, was huge for me. He was a good mentor to me, just a really good person. And old Colin Cooper was another one. Two wicked guys that I learned a lot from in the 15s sort of side of it. And then you've sort of put me on the spot here a little bit. I've had some wicked coaches. Clarkie Laidlaw was our skills coach at the time, and then coached me a bit at Sevens. And then Johnny Weston was another awesome coach. To be honest, all the coaches I've had have played a huge part in me getting to play for the teams I played for. Obviously had Titch, and then I went over to England and had Simon Amor. So I think everyone's had huge input into where I've got to. But the funny thing is, the person that told me I was too small probably played the biggest part. Yeah. Because he made me want to prove him wrong, eh? So, yeah. And he's a good person. He just, told me I was too small.
Now, you managed to play a few games for Horowhenua-Kapiti, and you got to even play a few games alongside your brother, actually, Aaron, who's a bit of a legend up that way. What's it like playing for your home province and also alongside your brother?
Mate, it's no words can describe playing with one of your siblings. You sort of grow another leg. I don't know if you've got to play with a brother, or have a brother on the touch for you or something. I don't know. It's quite special, eh? Being able to share the field with your brothers. I've got another brother up here in Taranaki who I play quite a bit with. He's my youngest. So I've got 5 brothers, and then 4 half brothers and sisters. So, I got to play with Tristan, the youngest of the 5 boys up here as well. So now you grow another limb. You don't want anything to happen to them, and you sort of got in the corner of your eye, making sure your brothers are all right. And to be honest, they both carried me around the field a bit. So they're both overside flankers. But yeah, words can't describe getting to share the field with your brother.
And how did the move to playing sevens come about? Tell us about your early sevens journey.
So I was actually down in Horowhenua, playing for Horowhenua-Kapiti, and every obviously end of the year, it was in Queenstown at the time, we would have our sevens tournament in Queenstown. I wish it was still there. But we'd head down there, and one year we upset Wellington in the semis, and Auckland, we beat Auckland it was the bowl final. But both of those teams were stacked. They had like Jules. Who else did they have? Yopu was in the Auckland team. Rocky Khan. Some big names anyway in sevens, and we upset them both back to back, which was huge for little old Horowhenua. And still to today, I still get goosebumps watching that final on whenever I get to watch it again on YouTube or something. So that was sort of where I got a little bit noticed. They named like a tournament team after that. And then Titch sort of mentioned that if I wanted to further my sevens, I sort of had to move away and give it a crack at a bigger province to see how I fit in with a bigger team. So anyway, long story short, Taranaki were already talking to me about heading up that year. So I headed up to Taranaki and played for the Spotswood United, Spotty Dogs. And it was that was sort of the start of it really. And then played for Taranaki, and then got selected by Titch in the next squad after that. And I think I went to about 6 camps before actually making my first tournament.
Tell us about those training sessions with Sir Gordon Titchens. We've had him on the Hui before. He keeps a pretty firm line when it comes to those training sessions. He says there's not too much spewing, but tell us, what's it like when he puts you through the grinder?
Like it's easy enough to say it, but what he says is 130, 50% right. Like he loves to test the mental side of a player. So yeah, it was anything. It was back to back in sessions of fitness, or you'd finish your full on session of training an hour and 45 minutes into it, and then all of a sudden you've got sort of half an hour of fitness. He'd make us run around he gave us the afternoon off, but made us run around the mount and told us to do it as quick as we can. So we ran around the mount, smashed it, absolutely buggered, and then he goes, right, you've got 5-minute rest, and then you're doing it again. And if you don't finish within 15 seconds of your last time, then you've all got to go run up to the top of the mount and back down.
Oh.
And I think only one person out of that whole group finished within that 15 seconds of their time. But he tests you, man. He tests you mentally, and I guess I thrive on that sort of stuff. I was never the most talented player, but I would always get stuck in and give it everything. And I think my mental side was probably my strongest part of my game. Yeah.
In 2012, you made your debut for the Sevens team, and what tournament was that in?
That was actually, what was my first? That's a good question. You put Gold Coast.
Yep.
So it was the year that you had to choose either Mitre 10. There was Mitre 10 Cup back then, I think. Mitre 10 Cup or Sevens. And the 4 big, so Lottie, Rakambula, Tamasi Tama, DJ Forbes, and Timmy Mickelson all chose Sevens. But then all the ones on the fringes chose to 15. So it was it was a good shot for me to get in that team. But no contracts had been given out yet. He was waiting to see how everyone went in the Gold Coast for the newbies. So trained hard that week at camp to try and make the Gold Coast team. So I knew it would be my best shot. And actually went all right in the training up to the team naming. Then he named the team, and you get left in the room afterwards. The team's named. You get left in the room, and the people that don't make it, they leave the room. It's quite cutthroat, eh? And then you sit there, and then you go around and talk about what it means to you. And yeah, it's just quite amazing seeing even myself how many boys break down. Even some of the boys that had already made it, how much it meant to them, because he got tested so much by Titch mentally and physically, that when you finally made it, it was just like, holy crap, like you're there, or you're not there, but you've been named finally. So anyway, we went to I knew that the job wasn't over, because I didn't actually get to enjoy it much, that I've made the team. So then we went to the Gold Coast knowing that we've got the 4 big guns, and DJ, Lottie, Tamasi, and Timmy. But no, everyone expected us to bow out in the quarters, not make the quarters. And so we had a point to prove. Like, it was in the media that it was the worst team New Zealand had sent, and we ended up making the final and narrowly lost that final to Fiji, which turned heads. Everyone couldn't believe it, and it just shows like how much Titch pushes his boys and how much he knew who to pick and whatnot. And actually went all right in that tournament, so I got offered a contract. So that was awesome. That was huge for me to get my first rugby contract.
Now, you've made the move to England. Tell us about how that move to go start playing for the Poms came about.
Yeah, so that was the following year. It was the same again. You chose 15s, or it was 2014 now, I think. Must have been a year after, something like that. And I chose 15s that year because I really wanted to try and make Taranaki. But so then Titch obviously knew I was keen for 15s and whatnot. So I was behind Chris Smiley and Jamison Gibson Park, who's probably one of the best 9s in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
So I was the third halfback, and it was the year Taranaki we actually won it. So it was 3 or 4 games that year I got to play in, which was awesome. And we won. We beat Tasman in the final. I didn't play in that one, but Jamison and Chris Smiley played in that. But huge, like me and Jamo used to have good battles in club rugby, and it's just awesome seeing where he is now, knowing that I used to, kick it with him. And then Chris Smiley was awesome to sit in front of us and sort of show us how things are done and whatnot. But anyway, I chose 15s that year, and then the next year came up to give sevens a crack, and I think Titch had his team all sorted then, so I stayed in the 15 side of it, and then I thought that was me done with the sevens. Didn't think I'd get another crack at NZ sevens. And then I got a phone call on Christmas Eve, or 2 days before Christmas, I think it was, asking if I'd come over to England for a trial it was actually Mike Friday texted me and said, "Are you eligible for England?" And I said, "I'd have to check that." And then I checked it, went back to Mike Friday. He coaches the USA Sevens at the moment. And because I played a few invitational tournaments for him. And then I get a phone call from Simon Amor, the England coach, and he just said, "Look, we're keen to get you over and give you a trial." So yeah, all my New Year's plans were stuffed, all my Naki Sevens. I was the captain of the Naki Sevens team, so I was like, "No, I'm letting the boys down." And at first I said, "Can I come over after the 14th of Jan, after the National Sevens?" And they were happy with that. But then they rang me back and they're like, "No, we don't. We want you to come now." Yep. So here I was on a flight to England, and then within a couple of days they offered me a contract, and then it was really hard to say no to. Like at the end of the day, you just want to play the highest grade you can play in, and play as much as you can, because you never know when your career is going to end.
How different was the setup in England compared to New Zealand?
It was completely different at the time, because the All Black Sevens at that time wasn't full time. So England was a full time setup. So Sevens in New Zealand, I was coming home from a tournament and then going straight back to work on the tools, roofing. And then getting pulled into camp a week out from a tournament, and then getting smashed that week, going to a tournament, play the tournament, come home. I played 2 tournaments, then come home, and then back to work. Where England, it was full-time setup. So I got to England and you train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays off, and then train Thursday, Friday, and then the weekends off. So that was the totally difference. I got to know the English boys really tight, because obviously you're full-time in there every day. With the New Zealand boys, you get to know them for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then you're gone. Yep. And you don't see them again for 2 or 3 months. So that was the 2 big differences between the both.
What was it like when you played against New Zealand?
That was special, because I still had all the boys still in the team that I played with. So like Bowden Walker, Sam Dixon, Scott Curry, Deej, Tamasi, everyone was still there. So, and to be honest, it was wicked. I think just trying to think where I played them. I was it was at Wellington, and they actually beat us in the final of Wellington Sevens. They beat us by a try or something, which was awesome. Like, it was a cool event. And then I got one back against them at London when we played at Twickers. So they just top guys, and had no remorse for me. Like, didn't hate me, or still treated me like I was me. And yeah.
Did you get the opportunity to go to the Olympics in 2016?
I did. I hate making excuses or anything. Long story short, I missed out. They couldn't give me a reason. They just said, "Look, you just don't fit the team at this stage. You gave it everything, but you're just not going to fit the team." There was 4 tournaments leading up to that, and I rolled my ankle 2 weeks out from selection on my own player at training. So I did the ligaments in my ankle, so I missed 2 of the big tournaments. I actually had 2 really good tournaments leading up to that. and the coach was like, just carry on doing what you're doing, like you're doing well. And then I got injured at training, getting lifted for a kickoff, and then came down, landed on my own player's foot, and just rolled my ankle, and I was in tears, because I knew it was quite serious. But it was only like 3 to 4 week injury. But yeah, I think it was a bit heartbreaking. Like if they gave me an excuse that, like if they just said to me, nah, you didn't play enough minutes, or nah, this, nah, that, it was just, we can't give you an excuse, you just don't fit the team. That was like, I don't know, just, yeah, I don't know, bit guttering, but hey, I was happy for the boys, happy for all my mates who made it, and they actually went to the Olympics and got silver. So I was it's always, it's always going to hurt not making a team.
Yeah. Now, 2022 was one of your last years playing. At that time, was your body starting to fall apart, or did you feel like it was time for a change?
To be honest, I'm still playing now. If I was a bit dumber, but I've had to be a bit smarter and look after my body. Yeah, the body sort of, you can tell, you know when time, you know when it's the right time. And yeah, that just felt right. So I'm 37 now, so yeah, it sort of felt right for me to call it there.
Now, what an interesting thing was...
I still play the odd game, to be honest. I come down to Waikanae and play the odd game.
Now, in 2021, you were named the head coach of the Cook Island Sevens. How'd that come
about? So before COVID, actually, I applied for a job. I seen there was a job going for the head coach of the Cook Island Sevens. So I applied for it, and then COVID hit, and I heard nothing. And then a year later, I get this random email saying, "Would you still be interested in the Cook Island Sevens gig?" And I knew a couple of the boys, Adam Vardy and old Nate from down south, Robinson, about going over and being the head coach. So unfortunately, it's sort of, I got signed the head coach, and then the chair, she was the chairman, she ended up leaving, and I'm not going to bag them because it's I don't actually know what's going on there, but like I think there's a few moving parts going on, and everything wasn't quite sorted in the background, and funding and that was a bit hard to get by. And so I was the head coach for about a year and a half, and then I got offered this. I didn't get to coach them because it was just all to do with money, and COVID was all lingering. Tournaments hadn't kicked off yet, like Oceania's, and then I got offered this role where I am now managing a roofing company. So I sort of had to push the sevens aside, which is a bit guttering. I didn't get to coach them with everything going on, but who knows what the future might bring.
And well, you've moved on to a new path in rugby refereeing. How'd that move come about, and how have you found refereeing rugby instead of playing it?
Totally different, eh? So it came around, I actually caught up with Paul Williams, must have been 2022 or 21. He, because I know I'm from obviously being up here, he actually gave me a call and said, "Can we catch up for a coffee?" And I was like, I don't know what this is about. He's probably going to get stuck into me about giving the referees too much of a hard time when I'm playing. So went for a coffee with him, and he, just he's like, "Mate, you come give refereeing a crack, would love to have you, and there's good pathways for it and whatnot." And here I am. I was like, thinking, I was like still thinking I was going to play and whatnot. And then so anyway, I carried on playing for a year or two, and then I retired, and I was like, actually, I'll give it a crack. Like, I can always coach one day. Like, I can get into coaching when I stop running. Like, when I'm unable to run anymore, I can always get into coaching. So I picked up the whistle, and I'm second year in now, and I'm actually enjoying it, being out in the middle and giving back to a game that I've known since I was 3 years old. And the game's given so much to me, and it's cool just to give back to the game.
And by all accounts, you're doing extremely well. You've been named in the new look national referees squad, and you got to run a touch for a few rep games last year. How have you found going up the levels, particularly into that high level program?
It's different. I think I'm lucky enough to have played so many games of rugby and see so many breakdowns being at 9 and seeing the game from a halfback. That's probably why I got stuck into the referees a bit, because I could see things on my side. But I'm absolutely learning as much as I can. I've got an awesome coach, and Cam Stone is my coach. If you remember, he was refereeing Mitre 10 last year.
That's right. Yeah.
Or Bunnings NPC last year. So he's now my coach, and I'm just just taking it all in, man. I think I'll continually I'm continually willing to learn, and I'll keep learning until I give refereeing up. I've got a lot to learn, and yeah, it's cool. It's awesome. I've got a lot of people trying to help me out. I've got heaps of people messaging me all the time and giving me the feedback. It's overwhelming, but it's awesome.
What's your highest appointment to date?
Highest appointment, I'd say in ARing was that I'd AR'd the semi for Cam down in Wellington.
Yep.
That was awesome. But the highest appointment in refereeing, I think it'll be a B's game. So it was Auckland, probably Auckland Northland was one of my biggest, or maybe the school semi-final down in Palmy. That was quite cool to be a part of. Southland versus Palmerston. Probably those two, yeah.
And of course, referee numbers across the country are pretty low. How are they up there in the Taranaki? And what message would you pass on to someone to incentivise them to take up the whistle?
The numbers up here actually aren't too bad. We've got Chloe looking after the referees this year, and she's doing an awesome job. And I think we're on par to gain a few rests this year up here. But yeah, if I was to give a message, if you want to give back to the game that's done so much for so many people, it's an awesome way, especially if you're still able to run around. It's a good way to give back to the game. And like myself, I was quite verbal as a 9. Wasn't directive, but I would I always like to question the referees, and I thought the only way I could give back here is by picking up the whistle. So I'm sure there's probably nearly every rugby player out there loves giving the referee a hard time sometimes. So if they want to give back, it's an awesome experience, and you're giving back to a game that's done so much for so many people, and taking that step to picking up the.
Oh, we just sounds like we just lost him there. So internet's dropped out. All right. Well, it looks like we've just. Oh, no, you're back. We just lost your last sentence there, Warwick. So.
No, I said Conrad Smith's up here. He refereed a game in the weekend.
That's right, he did. He Francis Douglas back his old school, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah, he did. Yeah. And I actually seen him walking out in the road, and I said, "Oh, you look like an awesome referee, mate." And he started laughing at me. So hopefully he does it again for us. Yeah.
Well, Warwick, it's been fantastic having you on tonight, and all the best for the rest of the year with refereeing. So.
No, I really appreciate the you reaching out to jump on your podcast. It's an awesome podcast. So
awesome.
All the best with the with Nehe after this.
Yes, thank you. Cheers. All good. Take care, eh?
Cheers, mate. See you later. Bye.
So that was Warwick Lahmert, former All Black Sevens and England Sevens star, and now playing his trade refereeing around the grounds in Taranaki as well. Our next guest has just joined onto the podcast, so we'll just welcome Nehe in very soon. We'll just get the Screen's all selected. There we go. That's all sorted. Kia ora, Nehe. How are you?
Yeah, kia ora, brother. You all good, bro? How are you?
Oh, good, thank you. And how's your evening been for you this evening? It's a bit cold out there in Wellington this evening.
Yeah, she was a bit chilly today. But nah, just doing the sort of household duties, trying to get the little one sorted for dinner, but and bedtime. But you're sort of timed this well, so I've been able to dodge that tonight, bro. So much appreciated.
No worries. You've been a busy man, in particular with your new role as the Director of Rugby at Poneke. How'd that come about, and how are you finding the job?
Yeah, obviously, you're really lucky to be involved with a great club like Poneke. It sort of came about through a good friend of mine and one of my ex-teammates, Reggie Goods, who's been involved with the club in different capacities and most recently as a coach. And he said that there was a vacancy in this role, and yeah, thought it would be a great opportunity, I guess, a bit selfishly for myself to, I guess, help grow as a person and challenge myself and step out of my comfort zone. And then obviously with that, trying to add value to the club and all the great things that it's done and what's in store. And I guess, yeah, to answer your question around how it's been a bit of a whirlwind. Sort of now that the the senior season's kicked off, we're sort of 5 weeks in. Yeah, sort of able to get a gauge on how things roll and sort of who does what, the different moving parts that make up the club. And then junior footy kicked off last weekend as well. So yeah, it's full on at the moment, but yeah, loving every minute.
Poneke is a special club. How have they welcomed you, and also the players as well? There's some real characters there.
Yeah, 100%, bro. We'll probably be here all night if I was to list off all the characters, but for the ones that are watching, they probably know who they are. But yeah, really, really warmly welcomed into the club. I guess the first few weeks, yeah, had a few phone calls from ex sort of legends of the club, Richard Watt being one of them, and yeah, he didn't sort of go too much into some of the stories of back in his time, but sort of just wished me, yeah, good luck in terms of supporting the club going forward. Yeah, and the players are been pretty good. Had a good start for my 5 a.m. gym sessions. Had a good crew turn out, but the numbers are slowly dwindled. So for the ones that are watching, yeah, they know who they are as well. But nah, loving every minute of it. I guess it's a different challenge. Obviously, being last few years and whatnot in professional setup, but I'm really enjoying being involved with sort of grassroots. I hate using the word amateur because the boys bring a whole lot of value in their different backgrounds and what they do throughout their days, and then when they turn up to trainings and whatnot, they give it bloody heaps. So yeah, warmly welcome, bro, and I'm sure there's going to be some few more characters that come out and good times to enjoy.
And how is the club doing across the season in 2024?
Traveling okay across the different teams. So the Colts have been playing pretty well, led by the big fella Tui and Albie and Jezza and the rest of the crew behind the scenes. I think they might have just dropped one game, their first game against Upper Hutt round one. The twos have been going pretty well, sort of a bit patchy, I guess would be the way to sort of summarise how they've been going. Same as the ones, sort of not unlucky, like Upper Hutt deservedly won the first game, but to lose by penalty sort of the last minute was a bit gut wrenching. The women's have been pretty promising. They haven't. They were unlucky probably to not get a win on the weekend against Avalon, but yeah, pretty impressive signs there with us combining with OBU and the Rough Nuts and the 85s are sort of a few games into their season, and yeah, expecting big things from them too.
Where did your junior rugby career begin?
Junior rugby for me began up in Palmy. I was a college old boy, junior lad. Followed my older brother who went to the registrations as he does, and being the annoying little brother, followed him along and ended up I think signing up. Yeah, not long after he started, but also had a stint in league. So I was probably sort of going across union, league, and playing a heap of touch as well as a young fella.
You're a product of Queen Elizabeth College in Palmerston North, which is right next door to Palmerston North Boys. They didn't entice you over the fence?
Oh yeah, there's a bit of a backstory there. I started at Boys High, so my older brother, who's a few years older, he was year 12 or sixth form, as we used to call it. When I started at year 9, and yeah, so I started there, but switched about 4 weeks later to go to QEC, Queen Elizabeth College. Yeah, I guess it's hard to say what would have happened if I stayed at Boys High, but yeah, kind of still pretty chuffed at how things have panned out. But yeah, Boys High, a bit of a machine in terms of schoolboy rugby, not only around Manawatu, but going pretty well in the country. And yeah, I started there, but yeah, a few different reasons and things happened, and ended up jumping fence to QC.
We're going to talk about your All Black career soon, but the Milner-Skudder name has a strong history within New Zealand rugby and All Black history. Tell us about those connections.
Yeah, so I'm pretty blessed with the bloodlines to have. Yeah, uncles on both sides of the family don the black jersey. I think back in the late '60s, early '70s. So George Scudder, an uncle, obviously on my Scudder family lineage. He was a bit of yeah. Didn't see him play in the flesh. Just sort of had to go back through old film, and he's a bit of a strapping lad. Probably played a different. Well, he's much bigger than how I am, so I kind of missed out on a bit more of the bigger genetics. And then Buff Milner, who was also a back, yeah, played for East Coast and down through around the Gisborne area, Tokomaru Bay. Yeah, they were both All Blacks throughout the late '60s. So yeah, to follow in their footsteps and sort of carry on. I guess that family sort of name and whatnot, yeah, sort of gives me a good buzz as well.
Now, after college, you actually went into the rugby league line and joined the Bulldogs age group teams. Tell us about your time over there in Sydney at Bankstown, and what was rugby league like there for you?
Oh, bro, I had this conversation with someone the other day, and man, I was just way out of my depth, way out of my league, um, so to speak. I hadn't probably seen a dumbbell or bench press before heading over there, and so I remember my body being absolutely just sore. That DOMS, the delayed onset muscle soreness, sort of hung around for about 3 months when I first got over there, and first time being introduced to that sort of level of training, bit of a high pressure sort of environment, semi-professional. We trained alongside the NRL team, so yeah, it was a pretty awesome experience. Pretty daunting being away from home, but yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. I think yeah, having 2 years over there, not quite cracking on in terms of pushing on to first grade and NRL teams. Um, yeah, sort of learns a whole heap around skill set, sort of resilience and things like that to help. Um, Not when I saw the light, but yeah, made the switch back to Union.
And you came back to the Manawatu and you built your way up with the Turbos. 2014 actually was a breakout year for you. You had a stellar year for Manawatu and you earned selection for the Māori All Blacks. How special was 2014 for you?
Far out, it's a bit of a trip down memory lane, but yeah, no, I remember, yeah, sort of having a good year for Manawatu. I think us as a team, I think we won the whatever the championship or whatever division it was for the NPC that year. Sort of helped, yeah, push and promote a few of our players, not only into like Super Rugby squads, but higher up. So yeah, to get named in the Māori All Blacks team was a huge buzz. That was probably the team I love watching most in terms of teams in the black jersey. When I used to look back at guys like Ruatapuki, Rico Gear, Jose Gear, My uncle Matt used to coach back in the early 2000s. So
That's right.
yeah, there was a strong connection there. Obviously being proud Māori boy too. So yeah, did a tour to Japan, managed to debut, play a couple of games over there, and yeah, that's always a special time, special jersey that I'll hold close.
And your Maori heritage is very strong for you. Tell us about your culture and what is your iwi?
Yeah, so I'll whakapapa back to Ngāti Porou on our Milner side, and Tapawika on my Wehapi or my Skudder on the dad side. So yeah, very lucky, I guess, in the past few years to be able to get a few opportunities to play for East Coast, the rugby union team. It would have been a couple of years ago, and then just last year played in the Māori League Nationals in Rotorua for our Ngāti Porou team too. So yeah, sort of hold my Māori culture pretty close and stand proud as a Māori boy for hopefully our next generations and whatnot to do the same.
You mentioned you just played in for Ngāti Porou. You're well known for the Scudder step. Can you still do it?
Nah, probably not. That's why I'm sort of slowly the boots are the time between putting boots on is getting longer and longer. So yeah, nah, I'm probably gauging it off how quick I can chase my 2-year-old around, and that's not tracking too well. So yeah, I don't want to see how I operate on a footy field nowadays.
End of 2014, you signed up with the Hurricanes full time, and 2015 was this great year. The Hurricanes, unfortunately, falling short in the final. But how special was to be out there playing for the Hurricanes alongside Manonu and Conrad Smith?
Yeah, it was pretty special. But what comes straight to my mind is if you made a mistake around Matanonu, far out, you used to absolutely cop it. But yeah, putting that to the side, that was good fun. Yeah, the team was sort of stacked with great players, right from the forward pack through to the back line. Yeah, we had great depth, but yeah, we couldn't quite get the job done at the end. I sort of remember a full packed out Westpac Stadium and yeah, huge buzz that whole week and things like that against the Landers. But yeah, that's sort of always one that it'll be a bit tough to always reflect back on.
The Hurricanes got the title in 2016, but unfortunately, injury came calling. What happened to you in season 2016?
Yeah, so I ended up sort of dislocating my shoulder early on. I think probably round 3 that 2016 year. I had to get surgery, so I missed that whole year and had to sort of support and watch the lads from the sideline and sort of started working on my hydration technician skills that year. And I'd like to say that was the sort of deciding factor in getting the boys the championship that year. But other people will say different. Corey Jane will say it was from his try in the final.
Yes.
Wasn't too bad.
2015, it's every young man's dream to be named in the All Blacks. You debuted against Australia in Sydney. What was the experience like? One, knowing your name was ready out to play in your first test match, and what was the build-up like leading up to that sad day?
Yeah, no, I remember sitting in kind of the change rooms. It was Tuesday morning before we sort of go out to train, and we all sort of get kept in the change room for a bit, and Steve Hansen will name the team, and yeah, I remember I must have just like had an absolute mind blank and didn't even hear my name get read out, and obviously number 14 went through the rest of the reserves, and the boys just come up and started sort of giving me high fives and whatnot, and I was like, oh, far out, what's going on? And yeah, probably not a good way to start that week, but yeah, we had a week at home, or sort of a few days, and then we went to Sydney for a few days earlier to prep and train and acclimatise, I guess. But yeah, I was pretty nervous that whole week. I roomed with Conrad Smith when we got over there, and I sort of remember asking him, "Oh, like, hey Snakey, do you ever get like nervous before games?" And yeah, he was like, "Oh, nah, not really, a little bit." And I was like, "Oh, cool, that's exactly what I'm not feeling. I'm absolutely, shitting myself. But just watching how cool he was sort of on the field and off the field. He used to sit in the room and read The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and here I was trying to scroll through the TV channels to keep myself occupied. But yeah, the first game was a whirlwind. I remember going too hard in the haka, like I was that pumped up, in Sydney, ANZ Stadium, 80 odd thousand, just waves of yellow people throughout the crowd, and thought, oh man, this is, like you say, every kid's dream to put on the black jersey and perform the haka. And I thought I was probably at like the Matatini Kapaka Nationals, and remember going so hard that I got like lightheaded afterwards, and had to sort of quickly recompose myself before we got to kick off. But the game went so quick. I remember watching a replay of it a few weeks ago, and there's things that were happening in there that I only remember. Like, I was like, far out, did that happen? I trying to say I don't even remember us losing, but we did. So not many people lose for the All Blacks, let alone on debut. So for a few reasons, it was one to remember.
And of course, the ride would continue when you were named to go to England for the Rugby World Cup. And being part of that team, they went back-to-back champions. Tell us about being part of a unique piece of New Zealand rugby history.
Yeah, pretty special, like for a whole heap of reasons. The one that you just mentioned, going back-to-back. I actually remember watching the 2011 final. Aaron Smith and I were at the Wine and Food Festival in Gizzy, where they have Rhythm and Vines, and we watched the final on this big, huge screen, and having a few fizzies and whatnot. And fast forward 4 years later, we were playing both at a World Cup and winning the bloody thing. But it was pretty surreal. Like, the whole thing was just a whirlwind. I was kind of just an autopilot, just riding the wave. And I remember it being pretty cool to sign off for those legends: Richie McCaw, Dan Carter, Snakey, Ma'a, Kevi Milamu, Woodcock, a whole heap of lads who had done some amazing things for the New Zealand rugby and for the black jersey, and to sort of cap it off like that for them was extra special, I guess.
What was the one game at that tournament that you enjoyed the most?
I know the one game I didn't enjoy, and that was the first one, Argentina. I had an absolute shocker. I got pulled after about 50, I think, not far into the second half. Sonny Bill made a break, and I don't know why he did one of these offload things, which he never really does. But anyway, I wasn't expecting it. I was like 2 steps out from the try line and shelved it, knocked it on. From, I think, that scrum, Argentina booted it down to my wing, and I tried to keep it in. Like, I was going to the sideline, try to catch it, bob it back in, knocked it on again. I think it was the next stoppage after that I saw my number come up, and went for early rest on the pine. So that's one that was probably not enjoyable, but the one I took most, I guess, the most learnings from, because after that I was kind of like, far out, mate, what are you up to? You're playing for the All Blacks, you're at a World Cup. Get your shit together. And so that sort of lit the rocket, lit the fuse for me to make the most of every moment and go out there and play like I was a 100 test All Black, let alone 3 games in. But enjoyable one, probably that French quarterfinal, Cardiff. Huge build up. There was heaps of talk. I remember that week of memories of 2007 when the All Blacks lost, same venue, same opposition, same time in the tournament. I remember there just being a whole heap of French fans somehow just being around our hotel. So we'd leave for training, and I'll just be banging on the bus, giving us these like one finger good luck signs, screaming all these French words, which I haven't quite learned French, but absolutely giving it to us. And that whole atmosphere for the game was pretty electric, and for us to play pretty well and put a good score on, put a good performance on, was that was quite probably the most enjoyable one. And then winning the final was up there as well.
It's been well reported, but you've had some pretty nasty shoulder injuries. Tell us the extent of how bad some of those are. In particular, is it both shoulders that have been affected?
Yeah, glass shoulders is sort of a nickname I've been given over the years, and both shoulders have been under reconstruction. Is probably my left that's taken a bit more damage to it. So yeah, when I used to play or last year and stuff like that, I'd strap it up pretty tightly, chuck a shoulder brace on, just to make sure it stays intact. But yeah, it was pretty tough just because, you know, when each injury happened, it was sort of at different sort of times. So the first time it happened was after 2015. So I was heading into 2016 wanting to, back up what was an awesome year in 2015. And that sort of got cut short 3 weeks into the season. Rehab that got back to playing Super, playing All Blacks, and then did my other shoulder rehabs. And it was just a sort of a rinse and repeat. And after about the third or fourth, I was like, oh, kind of had enough here. I'm just keen to pull pin and wrap things up. But yeah, I was able to sort of string out a few more seasons and sort of play some footy and still enjoy what I do as well.
And of course, you've managed to continue on and keep playing across other competitions. You've actually played one game for Ngāti Porou. Tell us about that game.
Yeah, that was it's right up there. I love sort of telling the story of when Jose Gear, who's coach at the time. This was back in 2021. Yeah, they had a centenary game, 100-year celebration up home, Queen's birthday, rest in peace, and a game against Poverty Bay, annual fixture for the Bill Osborne trophy. And yeah, it was just awesome to be back home, represent my family, represent my iwi, be around all my relations pretty much, because we all whakapapa back to Ngāti Porou, and to play at Whakaroa Park, do the haka, just listen to one of our waiata in the change rooms beforehand, see all the whānau around the sidelines, kids running on the field, relations of mine, absolutely praising me, and in the next breath, hurling abuse, which is always good fun when it's your own family. But no, it was an enjoyable experience, and yeah, to be able to, I guess, tick that off, something. It was another dream come true to play for East Coast.
You played a season in 2022 for Rugby New York. Tell us about rugby in the United States. Many call it the sleeping giant, but are they that far away from finally cracking rugby union?
I'd hope so. Like, I don't see why they couldn't be. You look at what they've done with other sports, and I think people use the example of Major League Soccer and how that sort of started. And you look at that sport, that product, that brand now, it's huge. But in saying that, yeah, it's kind of been a bit of a roller coaster, the MLR. So teams, I think, in the last couple of years have pretty much pulled out. So New York's no longer in the comp, and so yeah, it is a bit of a sleeping giant. I hope it just wakes up soon and doesn't stay asleep for too long. But I know they've got the World Cup there early 2030s, both the men's and the women's. So I guess that kind of gives them a point in time that they can work towards to go, okay, how do we grow the game? What would it look like, when the finals here at that time, and what do we need for, I guess, the national game? So definitely a lot of potential. There's a lot more foreigners, a lot more Kiwi boys looking at playing over there, and so yeah, it'll continue to grow. It's just at what pace and maybe with the World Cup is coming up to really grow the game.
What was your best try for the All Blacks?
Oh, far out. Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably. They're all pretty boring tries, to be honest. Like, full credit to the lads inside me, and yeah, most of the time I was just having to catch and put the ball over the line. So I'm trying to think of like context and if it won us the game, and none of my tries won us the game. So, oh yeah, it's hard. I'll probably just settle with the World Cup final one. Probably because the lead up to it, I don't know if you go back to that start of the play, we ran a move that I'd kept stuffing up the whole week at training. I ended up throwing like a sort of a cutout pass to Dane Coles on the edge when we switched back from a line out. And the whole week I just couldn't nail the pass. It'll either go forward or go over his head. Probably helps if he was a bit taller. But when we caught it at the time in the final, I was like, oh yeah, sweet, I'm gonna nail this. Kind of just bluffing and the whole faking it, but managed to pull it off. And Colesy made a break down the sideline, and a few phases later went over in the corner. So yeah, probably that's my favourite try, but it's more so the lead up to it and sort of the context, as opposed to I beat 5 guys and had to run 40 odd meters. It's more like 4 meters.
You play coach for Manawatu for the last 2 seasons. How's it being in the coaching box and giving back to the union that kick-started your rugby journey?
I find it's pretty hard, eh? Like at the time, you sort of go, "Oh yeah, this coaching stuff is pretty easy, man. They don't do much, and pretty sweet gig, and kind of just walk around drinking coffees and that." But sort of stepping into a bit more of a coaching role, they work probably twice, 3 times as hard as the players. So it was the other part to coaching that I've found interesting, sort of found challenging, is what's going on in your head and how you process and think of things versus how you deliver it and how that comes across and what goes into the player and how they comprehend it could be, totally different. So that's probably been the biggest learning for me, is around coaching style and how you deliver a message or you help players to understand things. It can be pretty easy or it's just different for different people. So it's not a one size fits all, so to speak. But that's probably something I've, just to sidetrack a little bit, what I've enjoyed about being involved with Poneke is you're working with, premier players, and then 2 days later you're trying to run a tackle clinic with year 3s, and then the next day you might be working with some high school kids, and then you're back at a year 7 and 8 group. So being able to be a good communicator, a good motivator, a good teacher, and all these other sort of different qualities you need is pretty important, and something I've started to sort of learn and get excited about with this new coaching gig.
Poneke at home this Saturday against Parramatta Plymouton, who won the Swindale Shield last year. How is the side stepping up to this challenge from the boys from Ngāti Toa?
Yeah, huge challenge from the boys out in Ngāti Toa domain. To be fair, I haven't watched too much of their games thus far in the season, but just hearing and sort of seeing what they did last year was pretty impressive. I guess most of the focus, is on our boys. That's the other interesting thing about club rugby, is you've got sort of about a 90-minute session on a Tuesday and another hour to 90 on a Thursday to pull together about a million different things into a pretty slick machine. But the boys are confident. I think they know they could have played a lot better against Avalon. The Avalon pushed us on the weekend and sort of highlighted a few areas in our game that we need to be better at. So yeah, that's what the plan is. With one more training for tomorrow, that the boys will fine tune the last couple of things, and hopefully we're at home on Saturday too. So the last time we played at home, Tawa gave us a thrashing pretty much. So a bit of redemption for our supporters and our club at home, and obviously adding to that is the massive challenge that Parramatta Plymouton bring.
Well, Nehe, it's been fantastic having on the Hui tonight. All the best for the rest of the season with your job, and no doubt we'll see you around the grounds over the time.
Top man, bro. Thank you for having me. And I'm just trying to scan that backdrop of jerseys you've got, and I'll have to get you a sky blue one to add to the collection.
Yeah, we'll need that one, won't we?
Beauty. 100%.
Awesome. All good.
Awesome, bro.
Right. Have a good rest of your night.
Much.
Awesome.
Same to you. Ka kite.
It is Nehe Milner-Skudder, and we've also had Warwick Lahmert on tonight too as well. So fantastic to have two great guests on the show, in particular World Cup winning winger as well. Well, it's round 6 of the Swindale Shield, and if I need to go by last weekend, the results were high-scoring matches. In particular, game we covered on Huddy Sports, Petone and Wainui, 60 points to 36, Petone over Wainui. It was 36-19 with about 20 minutes to go, so massive scoring games indeed. But let's have a look at the round 6 fixtures of the Swindale Shield. First game is Avalon versus Johnsonville. Avalon yet to win. Johnsonville, 2 losses in a row, should have beaten Petone 2 weeks ago, and then got trounced by Oris at home last week. But I'm picking, in this game here, it will be Johnsonville that will take out this game and will be the victors in this match. Let's look into our next home game, and that is Huddle Boys Marist against Tawa, their third game at home for the Eagles. Lost to OBU 2 weeks ago, but they beat Marist St. Pat's and gave Marist St. Pat's their first loss of the season. So Tawa, of course, 2 weeks ago, they bet Poneke at home. Hutt, though, if they can get those electric backs going, they will be hard to beat on that pristine Hutt Rec turf. So I'm picking the Eagles to win that one at home. Marist St. Pat's play host to the Wellington Axemen. Axemen had a few close moments there against Upper Hutt, but then fell away towards the end of the second half. Marist St. Pat's be looking to get back on their winning ways with a loss to the Eagles last week. It will be Marist St. Pat's I pick for that game. Next up is Northern United, play home to Petone. We'll see what Petone backline turns out this weekend. Norths, of course, they put up a good fight last week against Parramatta Plymouton in that battle of Pairua. But I'm picking Petone. If they can get those backs going on Jerry Collins Stadium, they will be electric indeed. Old Boys University play host to the Upper Hutt Rams. This is probably the game of the round, this one. Upper Hutt, of course, they got over Wellington in the end, but it was a bit of a scrappy game. They will be looking to try and get a win. They had a draw the week before against Parramatta Plymouton, and they then lost at home to Oriental Rongotai. The Billy Goats, of course, are in fine form. Just the one loss this season against Petone, but I'm picking at Rugby League Park it will be the Billy Goats that will win this fixture. Oris play host to Wainui-Amata, and Oris, of course, the steam machine is going well. Playing host to Wainui. Wainui will be hoping to bounce back after coughing up a bit of a loss to Petone in that last 20 minutes. Oris, of course, on fine form, just the one loss this season to Marist St. Pat's. So Oris at home at the Polo Ground will be too strong. And of course, our last guest, Nehe Milner-Skudder, is the Director of Rugby of the Poneke Rugby Club, and they are playing host to Parramatta Plymouton. Poneke, of course, last week bet Avalon, which was a tight affair. They're back at home, and they lost 2 weeks ago at home to Tawa, and they didn't just lose, they had a bit of a toweling, so they'll be looking to try and boost their rankings up here a bit more. Parramatta Plymouton, of course, they bet Norths last weekend and had a draw against Upper Hutt. It's going to be a hard one to pick, this one. Parramatta Plymouton, if they can get going, they'll be hard to stop. But we're going to back Poneke in this game. Of course, this weekend is the second round of the Transit Coach Line's First 15 Festival. And these 4 games are up in Gisborne this Saturday. It is Gisborne taking on Silverstream, and Silverstream are in fine form. They beat Napier last week, 25 points to 10, so that was an impressive result by the Silverstream Catholics. Napier play Wellington College, Palmerston North Boys play Hutt International Boys School, and Hastings take on Fielding. All those games will be played up at Gisborne. Well, as always, we'd like to thank our sponsors here on Huddy Sports. As always, Mike Pinfold Plumbing and Drain Laying and Louise Reddy of New Zealand Travel Brokers. They've been fantastic sponsors. So if you're looking for any plumbing and drain laying work, give Mike a call. And also Louise Reddy. She's an expert when it comes to travel brokers and booking your flights, whether it be in New Zealand or around the world. So give them a bit of a plug. And as always, we're always on the lookout here for sponsors. So please head to our website, send an email to huddysportsnz@gmail.com if you're willing to help us out with making sure we continue to have our sports, our events live streamed on YouTube for free. And it also helps to keep our cameraman paid as well. Well, that is the Huddy Hui for tonight, episode 106. We'll be back next Wednesday, same time, 7 o'clock. And we're yet to decide what game we'll be doing this Saturday, but keep an eye out on our social media pages and our website, and we'll let you know what club rugby game we'll be live streaming this Saturday. Well, that has been the Huddy Hui tonight. Many thanks to our guests, Nehe Milner-Skudder and Warwick Lahmert. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing those interviews to you tonight. I'm Brad Hudson, and that is, as always, ciao for now.